The Colts have two dark horse players who are not only looking to make the roster, but could potentially swing things in the Colts' direction following an amazing preseason and training camp. We're going to cover all that and more in this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts. And the two guys that we're talking about today may have slid under a lot of people's radars. In fact, one of them went undrafted. One of them was drafted in the 7th round, and this is kind of surprising to see these guys and how well they're doing in this training camp. And one of them, honestly, was surprising because the Colts immediately shifted him positions much like they did Jalen Carley's last year, if you remember correctly. So the two guys we're talking about today are Hunter Wohler and Jonathan Edwards. I want to talk about Jonathan Edwards today, and specifically I want to talk about him the most because he's the one that's kind of surprised so many people, because not only did he come out of nowhere in the expectations, he was undrafted from Tulane University, but even his statistics weren't even that great. You look at his last year, so this is his stats, right? He was a 6 foot and 6'1", weighing in at 200 pounds. He's hometown to St. Louis, Missouri. Was Parkway North High School. This is his notes. His arms and weight fall within the 75th percentile for defensive back hand sides, around the 25th percentile. This is a guy who was not really impressive. This is where we're going to talk about why he's not impressive, and then we're talking about why he's really, really impressive. His games played 14, total tackles 24, tackles for loss 1, only had 1 pass up and 1 pass defended in the entirety of his senior year. So this is the year that you're preparing for the draft, getting ready, getting everything good to go, and yet for some reason, this guy did not have that much to show for him. This is what he had. He was targeted 26 times in the Hula Bowl, allowed 14 receptions for 121 yards. That's abysmal. That's really bad. So why the heck are we talking about this guy? Well, this is his physical attributes. Again, this is where I think the Colts do a really good job of drafting guys, is based a lot on physical attributes. His 40-yard dash was 4.39 seconds, which is tied for the fastest of his pro day. His broad jump 10'4", vertical jump 38.5, and his shuttle run 4.41 seconds, 13 reps. And again, this guy was so uncovered that those stats come from the Canal Street Chronicles. So it's not like this comes from anything absolutely spectacular. So why is this guy turning heads? This guy's coverage has been really, really good. 14 games, 24 tackles, 1 tackle for loss in his senior year. It's just not crazy. It's not crazy at all. And yet, throughout this entire training camp, all eyes have been on Jonathan Edwards and how he's doing and how he's going to not only make the roster, but could potentially be one of the starting cornerbacks due to so many injuries. This guy could potentially get a real shot at being not only a really good steal, but could potentially be really great. And this is, again, coming from a Colts team that is surrounded. This Colts defense is surrounded with 6th and 7th round undrafted picks. Kenny Moore was a late rounder undrafted. You got Zaire Franklin, who was in the 7th round. EJ Speed from last year was in the 6th round. Darius Leonard, one of the greatest linebackers in the 5 years that we saw him be really great, he was drafted in the 3rd round. There's so many others that can go on and on. Nick Cross, one of our premier safeties, is drafted in the 3rd round from Maryland, which 3rd round's pretty good for a defensive back. But it goes on to say that, that this Jonathan Edwards guy, through everything that we've seen, every opportunity he has to potentially fail, he's looked good. He's showed up. He's been able to keep up. And I think that his physical attributes and a good coach like Lou Amarulo is going to do a fantastic job at developing Jonathan Edwards. But the other guy I want to talk about is this guy, Hunter Wohler, who, if you remember from the draft, he was drafted he was drafted in the 7th round. I'm scrolling down to Hunter Wohler's statistics. There we go. Hunter Wohler, he played for Wisconsin, and 2021, 12 games played, 6 games played in 2022, 13 in 2023, 2024, 11. He had 42 total games in college for 142 yards, 75 assisted tackles, tackle for loss 8, sacks 2, interceptions 3. So again, not a guy who's really turning heads as far as interceptions or even pass deflections, so he only had 5 through all of college. But this is where I think it's interesting, because this guy, if you watch his highlight reel, watch what he's doing right now. He's really, really good. And this is where I think a lot of longtime Colts fans are going to chuckle, because his RAS, his relative athletic score, was 9.55, which is incredible. That's a good that's a good relative athletic score. But we've seen historically Chris Ballard draft almost specifically off of relative athletic score. Anthony Richardson was a 99.97. Jelani Woods, who obviously we're hoping to see back on the roster this year after he had an amazing year in 2022. He was one of the few people to have a good year in 2022. But Hunter Wohler had 9.55 RAS. He had a 4.57 40-yard dash, a 20-yard shuttle of 4.25. He was the second among all safeties. His three-cone drill, which means it focuses highly on his footwork, was 6.27. That was the highest among all safeties at the combine. This guy is impressive, but not only that, the Colts did something incredibly interesting with him that I think should take note. Is that immediately after drafting him, when they listed him on the first unofficial depth chart, they listed him as a linebacker. Now, this linebacker room took a hit. They lost EJ Speed, and obviously Zaire Franklin did not play to the level of which you hope to see him play. I mean, obviously he had a lot of tackles. Zaire Franklin always does, but he also had a lot of missed tackles. His ball coverage was really, really poor. I think the Colts are doing something very interesting here, because Hunter Wohler has an opportunity to be one of the faster linebackers. He has the opportunity to be one of the ones with the best footwork, but not only that, but he can be good in coverage, because in his entire career at Wisconsin, he played safety. This is the strengths that the Draft Network had on him. His NFL size, he was NFL sized, instinctive run defender, alignment versatility, effective in open field tackling. Again, these are all things that seemingly Zaire Franklin was not good at last year. I think that bodes really, 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 that's very interesting to me, that the Colts would draft a guy who complements entirely their current starting linebacker. His concerns was sideline to sideline range, stiff hips, and block shedding. Again, not necessarily block shedding. Obviously, you need as a linebacker, but the sideline to sideline range you don't necessarily need as a linebacker. And his projection as starting strong safety in the NFL, systems that favor aggressive run defense close to the line of scrimmage. Does that sound familiar to anyone? That's almost exactly what the Colts are looking to bolster this season. This is his pre-draft projection. The Bucks, or the fifth quarter and others, Bucky's fifth quarter, known for physical tackling and cerebral play, but his coverage game and speed may limit role to backup special teams or late round selection. So again, that's kind of more accurate to what actually happened. But again, coverage for a safety can be not good, but bad coverage for a safety can be great coverage for a linebacker. Think this is going to be the solution that the Colts have in one of their biggest needs that I currently see in this defense, which is the linebacker room, specifically in pass protection, not pass protection, pass defense. This is one more thing I want to talk about, was the NFL.com had their strength and weaknesses in his hustle-based productions, leverages size, effective in special teams, can cover big receivers, weaknesses, and his mediocre pursuit angles due to speed and limited deep range, stiff in coverage templates. I think, again, those weaknesses can be wiped out based on his current position as a linebacker. This is a guy I'm very, very excited to see. He had an incredible diving catch or diving interception the other day that I think was just absolutely remarkable. And then this is SI analysis from before the draft. Said some believe transitioning from safety to linebacker may do a lot of good due to added weight and possible slowdown. Possible slowdown was the possible. It was the potential negative to switching him to linebacker. I think this guy is going to be really, really good. Again, there's going to be a lot of work. He was a late round pick. Obviously, there's no one in the late round is really, really immediately going to show off. But I think Hunter Wohler and Jonathan Edwards have an opportunity to do something really, really incredible to this Colts defensive room.